I want you to picture something that honestly makes, well, 0 cents on paper.
Okay, I am intrigued.
So you have a doctor, right? Someone with 15 years of intense medical school and residency behind them.
Right, tons of education.
Exactly. Making a massive salary. But they are carrying, like, more high-interest credit card debt than a warehouse worker who earns a fraction of that amount.
Wow. Yeah, that happens a lot.
Or picture a brilliant structural engineer, someone who solves complex math equations all day long.
The kind of math most of us couldn't even begin to decipher.
Yes, but the second the stock market takes a slight dip, he just panics and sells off his entire portfolio.
Completely abandoning the strategy.
Right. Or how about a woman with a master's degree in finance who genuinely cannot tell you where half her paycheck goes every single month?
I mean, it sounds like the setup for a joke, honestly.
It really does.
But the reality is this happens constantly, and it highlights this profoundly uncomfortable truth about how we view success in our society.
Because we have this deeply ingrained assumption, right, that if you are smart, if you have the prestigious degrees, you automatically know how to handle money.
You'd think so, but it's just not true.
It's really not.
Yeah.
I've been going through this massive stack of behavioral economics research for today's deep dive.
Oh, nice.
And all the case studies point to the exact same baffling contradiction. High IQ and high income do not automatically equal wealth.
They really don't.
In fact, sometimes that raw brain power is the exact thing keeping people broke. The researchers actually call it the intelligence trap.
The intelligence trap. Yeah, the psychological weight of this trap is what really stands out when you look at the literature.
What do you mean by the weight of it?
Well, for a lot of highly capable people, this isn't just some quirky bad habit. It is a very private, very hidden humiliation.
Oh, because they feel like they should know better.
Exactly. They're so used to being the smartest person in the room, right? Everyone around them just assumes they have their financial lives completely figured out.
Because they are so successful everywhere else in life?
Right. So admitting that they are lost with money, it feels like admitting a fundamental personal failure.
So they just hide it. They hide the confusion.
They hide it entirely.
Well, our mission today is to drag that hidden struggle right out into the light. We're going to unpack why intelligence and wealth building are actually two completely independent skill sets.
Which is a huge relief to hear, honestly.
It is. And more importantly, if you are someone who, overanalyzes everything, we're going to look at how you can rewire your approach.
So your intellect actually starts working for your money instead of against it.
Exactly. But to solve the mystery of the broke genius, we basically have to throw out our entire cultural definition of what it means to be smart.
We really do. Because traditional intelligence, like the kind that gets you straight A's or gets you into a top-tier university,
Or helps you pass the bar exam.
right, that kind of intelligence is fundamentally about processing information.
Okay, processing information.
It's about remembering complex facts,
Yeah.
reasoning through difficult logic, and solving abstract problems in a closed system.
A closed system, meaning there's usually a right answer.
Exactly. There is a correct answer you can find if you just think hard enough. But financial behavior operates in an open, chaotic system.
Oh, that is such a good distinction.
Right. It relies on a totally different mental toolkit. You need patience, delayed gratification, emotional regulation, and a really high tolerance for uncertainty.
Okay, let's unpack this. It's almost like being a brilliant music theorist, right?
Okay, I like that analogy.
You can look at a piece of sheet music and mathematically explain exactly why the harmony works. You know the history, you know the counterpoint.
But you can't necessarily play the instrument.
Right. If someone hands you a violin and tells you to play it under pressure in front of an audience, you might not be able to play a single note.
Because knowing the theory doesn't mean you can execute the performance when the adrenaline hits.
Exactly. And the data from the sources totally backs up this disconnect.
Yeah, there are a few major studies that really explain the mechanics of this gap.
Like the one from Yale, right?
Yes, the Yale researchers. They looked at how high-performing professionals estimate risk.
And what did they find?
Well, they didn't just ask if these people felt confident. They tested how these individuals estimated the margin of error in their own predictions.
Oh, that's interesting.
And they found that highly educated professionals systematically suffer from severe overconfidence in their analytical abilities when they step outside their specific domain.
Meaning, like, a surgeon thinks because they can navigate the human brain, they can easily navigate the tech sector's quarterly earnings.
Precisely. That is the exact mechanism at play. They are so accustomed to operating in deterministic fields.
Deterministic meaning effort equals results.
Right. Areas where if you apply X amount of skill and knowledge, you get Y result.
Okay.
But then they take that deterministic mindset and apply it to financial markets, which are entirely probabilistic.
So they underestimate the role of chaos and randomness.
Exactly. They believe their raw intelligence provides this protective edge. And when the market behaves irrationally, they don't blame the market.
What do?
They assume they just need to run more complex calculations.
Oh, wow. They just double down on the math.
Yep, they double down.
Okay, that makes sense for investing. But let me push back on the day-to-day money management side of things for a second.
Sure, go for it.
I am still struggling to accept that knowing the math doesn't change basic consumer behavior.
How so?
Well, if I can clearly calculate that a revolving credit card balance is charging me 24% interest, my brain should naturally scream at me to stop.
You would think so.
Shouldn't the intellectual understanding of that mathematical penalty just override the urge to spend?
Well, you're assuming that financial stress is a math problem.
Isn't it?
Not really. The research from behavioral economists at Duke University shows it's actually a neurobiological problem.
Okay, brain science. Tell me more.
They study something called present bias. It's the human tendency to favor a smaller reward right now over a much larger reward later.
Right, I've heard that. But shouldn't smart people be able to think their way out of that bias?
Because they can project the compound interest.
Exactly, they can do the math in their heads.
They can project it perfectly on paper. But here is the catch. Intellectual processing happens in the prefrontal cortex.
Okay.
And that part of the brain is highly energy intensive. It fatigues easily.
That's tired.
Very tired. But the desire for a dopamine hit, like the immediate reward of buying a new car or booking a vacation, that originates in the amygdala.
And the amygdala doesn't fatigue.
Nope. It doesn't fatigue at all. So picture a highly intelligent lawyer who just spent 12 hours using their prefrontal cortex to win a complex case.
Their brain is basically fried by the end of the day.
Exactly. By 8 p.m., that part of the brain is totally depleted. When they go online shopping to de-stress, the amygdala takes over.
Oh, wow. So the math literally doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter because the part of the brain responsible for caring about the math is effectively offline.
That is fascinating. And it perfectly explains those Federal Reserve surveys mentioned in the sources.
The financial literacy ones.
Yeah. The surveys show that passing a financial literacy test has almost zero correlation with actually having emergency savings.
Because the test measures the prefrontal cortex in a calm, controlled room.
Right. But real life tests the amygdala under stress.
It is a crucial distinction. We really have to stop viewing this disconnect as a character flaw or some kind of laziness.
It's just how the human brain works.
Yes. It's simply how the brain separates theoretical knowledge from behavioral execution.
So unless you build an external system to bridge that gap, knowledge alone will just sit there, perfectly categorized and completely useless.
Exactly. Completely useless in practice.
Okay, so we understand the physiological and psychological why. Let's transition to how this intelligence trap actually manifests in the wild.
Let's do it.
Because if you were listening to this deep dive, you likely already know the basics of personal finance. You probably aren't just throwing your money in a bonfire.
Right. Our listeners are savvy.
But the most common way this trap shows up for people is through this silent wealth killer. Doing absolutely nothing because you're too busy researching everything.
Oh, analysis paralysis.
Yes, analysis paralysis.
This is the ultimate passive trap. The sources present several cases of highly disciplined individuals who optimize every other area of their lives.
Like they meal prep perfectly?
They meal prep perfectly, they crush their gym routines, but their brokerage accounts just sit in cash for years.
Because they are waiting for the optimal market entry point.
Exactly. Or it's the person who spends hours reading terms and conditions to optimize credit card airline miles.
Oh, I know people like this.
So, but they carry a balance that wipes out the rewards with interest charges anyway?
They are obsessing over the micro while completely ignoring the macro.
Yes.
Let's bring up Sarah's story from the sources because this perfectly encapsulates the paralysis.
Oh, Sarah, the software engineer.
Right. She is a 34-year-old software engineer in Austin. She debugs complex code for a living. Her brain power is not in question at all.
Her approach to her finances was exactly what you would expect from an engineer. She read dozens of personal finance books.
Dozens.
She built these elaborate multi-tab spreadsheets comparing different index funds, tracking expense ratios down to fractions of a percentage point.
She was doing deep, highly analytical work.
Very deep. But 3 years into this intense research phase, Her retirement account was still practically empty.
3 years of research and zero invested.
Zero. Every single time she got close to pulling the trigger, a new article would drop, or she'd hear a new podcast debating international versus domestic equities.
And it would send her right back to her spreadsheet to run a new scenario.
Exactly.
See, if I am looking at Sarah, my instinct is to say she's just using the wrong tools, or maybe she is too deep in the weeds and just needs an advisor to do it for her.
But the tool isn't the problem, and outsourcing it entirely doesn't actually solve the underlying psychological block.
What do you mean?
Well, Sarah's freeze response stems from how her identity is constructed. Her entire life, being smart, meant getting the right answer.
Turning in the perfect test. Writing flawless code.
Right. To highly intelligent people, a suboptimal investment feels like failing a test.
Oh, wow.
It is a direct threat to their ego and their identity as a competent person.
So she is using research as an emotional shield.
Exactly. The caution that is supposed to protect her from making bad decisions becomes the exact mechanism that prevents her from making any decision at all.
Because if she never commits to a fund, she can never be proven wrong by the market.
You nailed it. She was left just as financially exposed as someone who had never read a single finance book.
But she felt productive because she was constantly researching.
Right, the illusion of productivity.
That is such a profound shift in perspective. She isn't lazy. She's just terrified of the emotional sting of being wrong.
So how did she finally break the trap?
A casual conversation with a coworker actually dismantled the pressure.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the coworker mentioned offhand that years ago they just set up a small, totally unglamorous automatic contribution to a basic target date fund.
And then just forgot about it.
Exactly. And that was Sarah's light bulb moment. She realized she was treating a financial habit like computer code that needed to compile perfectly with zero errors before it could even be run.
She needed to choose good enough over perfect.
Yes, she gave herself permission to have an imperfect start.
That is huge.
She picked an amount that felt too small to trigger her anxiety, she automated it, and told herself she could optimize it later.
And just by getting in the game, she bypassed the ego threat entirely.
A simple, low-cost approach that you actually execute today will always outperform the mathematically perfect plan that remains trapped in a spreadsheet.
Absolutely. Action beats theory every time.
But okay, Sarah's paralysis makes complete sense when you frame it around the fear of making a mistake.
Right.
But what if your intelligence makes you assume you cannot make a mistake?
Oh, that's a whole different beast.
Because the sources outline a totally different side of this trap. We shift from the passive trap of over-researching to the active trap of over-tinkering.
Oh, yes, the tinkerer's trap. This is arguably more dangerous because it masquerades as extreme diligence and active management.
Here is where it gets really interesting. Let's bring in David.
The attorney from Chicago.
Yes, David is a 46-year-old attorney. High-pressure career, big mortgage, kids nearing college age.
He makes a great income.
A really great income. But he feels his net worth doesn't reflect his intense work ethic. And unlike Sarah, David's problem wasn't inaction.
His problem was that he acted way too much.
Way too much. He was checking his investment accounts daily, constantly adjusting his portfolio based on morning headlines.
He was convinced his sharp legal mind could outmaneuver short-term market movements.
Exactly.
David's behavior is a textbook display of that overconfidence mechanism we discussed with the Yale study.
Because he's used to winning arguments in court.
Right. He is accustomed to out-arguing opposing counsel and outmaneuvering complex legal challenges, so he subconsciously mapped that skill onto the S&P 500.
Assuming he could basically out-argue the stock market. But wait, let me push back here. If I am actively managing my money, paying attention to macroeconomic trends, and reacting to new data, shouldn't my returns beat a set-it-and-forget-it index fund?
Yeah.
I mean, I am applying effort and intelligence to a problem
It seems logical.
that usually yields better results in almost every other area of life.
It does in fields where effort directly correlates with outcome. But the stock market is not one of those fields.
It's not.
No. Behavioral finance data consistently shows an inverse relationship between trading frequency and returns for retail investors.
So the more you tinker, the worse you perform.
The more you tinker, the more money you lose.
What is the actual mechanism behind that, though? Is it just the trading fees eating into the profits?
Fees and tax drag definitely play a role, but the primary driver is the behavioral gap.
The behavioral gap.
Yeah. When you trade frequently, you are forced to make two correct decisions every single time. When to sell and when to buy back in.
Oh, right. You have to be right twice.
Exactly. And even institutional algorithms struggle with that. For a human, constant tinkering almost always devolves into emotional reacting disguised as logic.
You feel the panic of a market dip in your amygdala.
But your prefrontal cortex rationalizes selling by pointing to a scary news headline.
Wow. So David was buying high on euphoria and selling low on anxiety, completely interrupting the compounding process.
Yep. His intelligence was simply providing him with highly sophisticated excuses to panic.
He was using his massive brain to slowly bleed himself dry.
It's tragic, honestly.
So how do you tell an attorney whose entire career is built on paying attention to details to stop paying attention to his life savings?
You have to appeal to their desire for systemic efficiency. A financial advisor friend finally pointed out to David that his brain power was being wasted.
Wasted on reacting to daily noise.
Right, rather than building a robust architecture that didn't require babysitting. So David made a structural shift.
What did he do?
He set up diversified, automatic investments and committed to only reviewing his accounts once a quarter.
4 times a year instead of every morning. That must have felt like gross negligence to him at first.
Oh, he admitted it felt incredibly irresponsible.
I'll bet.
But within a few quarters, by simply removing his own daily interference, his portfolio's performance stabilized.
He got out of his own way.
He realized that a decent plan reviewed quarterly gives the assets enough uninterrupted time to actually compound.
Structure isn't a weakness for intelligent people.
Not at all. It is a vital external constraint that protects you from your own over-analytical mind.
Okay, let's pull all of this together. If raw intelligence isn't the magic answer, and constant attention actually damages our returns, how do we build a financial life that actually works?
The overriding theme of these sources is that we must point our analytical strength away from trying to predict the market.
And point it directly at managing our own behavior.
That is the fundamental pivot. You stop trying to optimize the math and start trying to optimize the psychology.
And the sources provide some highly tactical frameworks for doing this.
They do. Where should we start?
The first one that jumped out at me is setting a decision deadline.
Oh, the story about Jennifer.
Yes, Jennifer the teacher. She had been stuck comparing retirement funds for 8 months.
8 months?
8 months of analysis. She finally gave herself a hard deadline. Pick a fund by Friday at 5 p.m. no matter what.
And she did it.
She picked a widely diversified, low-cost option, and simply by starting, she gained 2 years of compounding interest over her previous stalled state.
The underlying principle there is the diminishing marginal utility of information.
Diminishing returns on research.
Exactly. In personal finance, 90% of the value of your research comes from the first few hours. Understanding fees, asset allocation, that kind of thing.
So everything you read after hour 3 is usually just delay disguised as diligence.
The deadline forces the ego to accept that the research phase is finally over.
Which leads perfectly into the second tactic. Limit your information intake.
Yes. If you are an overthinker, stop doom-scrolling financial news.
We live in an era of infinite, highly optimized content, right? It's designed to trigger anxiety because anxiety generates clicks.
The research strongly suggests picking 2 or 3 trusted, philosophically aligned sources for financial education and intentionally ignoring the rest.
Just tune out the noise.
More input does not correlate with better decision-making. It just correlates with higher stress levels and increased tinkering.
Next tactic is shifting your focus. Track behavior, not just knowledge.
This is huge.
Taking a quiz to prove you understand the mechanics of inflation doesn't actually improve your financial position.
Exactly. The researchers recommend tracking your actual spending line by line for just 30 days.
No judgment, no immediate changes.
Just raw observation. Seeing the physical reality of where your money flows engages a totally different part of the brain than reading about abstract financial concepts.
It grounds your towering intellect in mundane reality.
It really does.
And once you face that reality, you move to the final step, which I think is the most powerful tool in the whole stack.
Building a money rulebook.
Build a money rulebook.
Yes. This is the concept of creating a simple, one-page set of personal, non-negotiable rules.
Give me some examples.
For instance, I always save 15% of my gross income before any discretionary spending.
Or, I never carry a balance on a credit card regardless of the rewards points.
Or, I wait 48 hours before making any purchase over $200.
The beauty of a rulebook is that it eliminates decision fatigue. You don't have to debate yourself every single month.
You don't have to relitigate the same financial choice from scratch.
You make the intellectually sound decision once, you write it down, and the rule enforces the behavior indefinitely.
Protecting you from your exhausted prefrontal cortex on a Friday night.
You are offloading the cognitive burden from willpower to a system.
I love that framing.
I do too. But I have one lingering question about all this.
Sure. What is it?
If I'm a naturally analytical person,
Yeah.
and I'm facing a major complex financial choice, like buying a home or restructuring my entire investment strategy,
Right. Big decisions.
how do I honestly know the difference between being genuinely diligent in my research and just using research as an avoidance tactic? Where's the actual line?
The behavioral psychologists in the sources offer a fantastic rule of thumb for this exact dilemma.
Oh, please share.
It's called the twice covered ground rule.
Twice covered ground.
If you find yourself reading the exact same arguments, reviewing the identical pros and cons, or running the same spreadsheet scenarios more than twice,
Uh-huh.
and no fundamentally new information has been introduced, you are no longer in diligence, you are in avoidance.
Wow. If I have read the same Reddit thread 3 times, I am hiding.
You are hiding behind your own intellect. You've successfully gathered the necessary data. Now you just have to endure the emotional discomfort of actually making the choice.
That is incredibly clarifying. So as we wrap up this deep dive, the core mindset shift you need to make is how you define and measure your own financial progress.
Absolutely.
Progress is not measured by the stack of behavioral economics books on your nightstand,
It is not measured by the elegance of your Excel formulas.
or your ability to debate the Federal Reserve's interest rate policy at a dinner party.
Financial progress is measured purely by the mechanisms you have put into motion in the real world. Action, even imperfect action, is the only metric that compounds.
Good enough action taken today will forever beat a mathematically perfect plan that never actually launches.
I'd like to leave you with a final thought to mull over.
Let's hear it.
Take an honest inventory of all the financial content you consume in a given week. The articles, the podcasts, the market updates.
And ask yourself what?
Ask yourself, is this education actually driving me to change my behavior, to automate a savings goal, or to pay down a specific debt?
Or have I secretly been using the act of learning as a comfortable substitute for the discomfort of doing? Because at the end of the day, you don't want to be the brilliant map maker who spends their entire life drawing flawless topographical charts of the mountains, but never actually goes on a hike.
Exactly. Don't let your own brilliance be the thing that keeps you paralyzed.
Set your deadline, embrace the good enough option, and finally get out of your own way.